Happy Sunday, 7th grade. This is a screencast for your week 3 assignments. Your first assignment is an at-home density lab that you're going to be following, showing you how to calculate density using mass and volume. So you're going to answer each of the questions and record and label your answers in the at-home journal. Stop at density of a liquid, and I'll explain further in the screencast. So the first one is going to look like this. It's going to be showing you how to use those triple beam scales that we all should be familiar with from school. You're going to read this information to find out more about how to calculate mass and the importance of mass. And if you're confused between mass and weight, check this out because it actually is a good interactive to help you better understand mass and weight. So here's your first problem. It says problem 1. So you're going to be writing problem 1 in your journal. And in problem 1, there is an unknown object that's on top of the triple beam scale, and it has a mass. It is giving you an image of what the mass is. You have to calculate all these numbers and put them in here to find out if you're correct. So we'll do the first one together. So we know the tenths place is 70, and we know the single digits place is 9. So we're going to go 7, 9. But we have to include up to the 10th value. So we know there's going to be a decimal point. So 79 point, because you see all these little dashes after 9, and in between every number. Those are where your decimal point numbers are. So we're going to have 9. And then we're going to see in the middle where that longer dash is, that represents half or 5. And we know this little arrow on the weight is pointing at 1 less than 5. So 1 less than 5 is 4. So we typed in 4. So now we got a total weight of 79.4 grams. Let's see if we're correct. It says correct. You typed 79.4. This is within the limit of error. Okay. So if you got trouble figuring it out, just hit the hint button. Everyone has a hint button. And then problem 2 is exactly the same. You look at the weights on the triple beam scale to tell you what the number is for the mass in grams. You record it in your journal, you hit submit, you find out if you're right. If you have no clue what you're doing because it's somehow difficult for you, hit the hint button. And then you got problem 3. It says if both objects were put on the scale at the same time, their total mass would be, total as in, take problem 1 and problem 2 and add them together. So if you can't figure out what the addition is, don't worry. Up here it says calculator. So you click calculator. And then this little pop-up window shows up of a calculator. You scroll down, you take your first number and your second number and you type it in, and you will find out what the total is of the two masses. And then you hit equal, obviously. So then when you're done, close it. So then the next chapter is on volume. So click the arrow and it'll take you to the next set of problems. Now we need to know what mass is and we need to know what volume is in order to find out density. So now we're going to figure out volume, but we're figuring out volume for regular shaped objects. So this is a cube. It's a very regular shape. What regular means is that all sides are measurable in the terms of distance, length, width, height. So we're looking at this cube and we're going to use this starting at 0, go all the way over. This is 3 centimeters, point something. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but each of these little millimeters would represent a decimal number. You'll type it in here, hit submit, record it in your at-home journal. It says the side of a cube is approximately 3.1 centimeters. How many inches does a does this convert to using this equation? A calculator is available to the right. So, it's right here. Click on the calculator to find out what the object is in inches. Okay? Now, this is another way of calculating volume. Generally, we use this to calculate for irregular shaped objects, so objects that we cannot measure length, width, and height. You would take a graduated cylinder, add a set amount of liquid in there. This one is set at 150 milliliters. And then you would submerge the object in the liquid. And when you submerge it, you have a cool thing called water displacement. So what's happening is that liquid went from 150 all the way up to this number, which I am not going to tell you because you need to figure it out. Now what this number is, I will tell you, is not 156 milliliters. These are interval values. Each of these little dashes represent a value. And your clue is it's 150 here and 200 milliliters here. So you need to use that information to find out what the value of each of these individual dashes represent. Once you've figured out what this amount of liquid is, you take this number and you subtract it from this number, which is 150, and then you would find out how many cubic centimeters the volume is of the object that displaced the water. Okay? So once you do all that, and once again the calculator is right there, once you do all that, you write it down, you hit submit, it'll tell you if you're right or wrong, and then you simply record it in your at-home journal. This is a fun little way of finding out the calculations of certain things. So length of side, we'll say 5, and then that means the area of one surface is 25 square units, and the volume of the cube is 125 cubic units. So units could be millimeters, centimeters, decimeters, blah blah blah, but it's all going to be meters because we're talking about length. Okay? And then once you're done with that, you hit the arrow button to go into density. And this is where we take what we've learned with mass and density, or mass and volume, to calculate density. Now this is all very helpful information. I recommend everyone read it. It is not very difficult to read. What you do need to know is this very important equation. Density equals mass divided by volume. Okay? So in this, and what we're going to do throughout the week, is we're going to find the density of objects. Now, in order to find the density of objects, we must first find out the mass of the object and then the volume of the object. So in this simple interactive, the mass is already given, the volume is already given. You just need to calculate to find the density. Okay, so it's mass over volume. Mass over volume equals density. So you're going to use that equation for block 1 and block 2, put it down in here, and then you're going to find out which one of the objects it is. And then you're going to type it in here. Everything you type in, you put in the at-home journal. Now at the very bottom it says go to density of a liquid. Do not go into density of a liquid. I will say this though, if you do, that's fine, but you may get confused. So don't even worry about it. Alright, so going back to our at-home journal, the next up is the density lab assessment. Just click on it, record number, and record your answers in your journal. And then I got 2 practice stations for you guys to become more familiar with the periodic table, with the states of matter and fun facts. we are going to have to be very familiar with the periodic table of elements and all the atomic structures of each of those elements. So I would take this time to become familiar. I'll click on both of them to see what, or to show you what it is. Here is the first one, and it shows all the different elements and what they look like in nature. You can also change the heat or the temperature and to see how it affects the different elements. It's all color coded. Those states of matter of them will be solid, liquid, or gas. So just click on them, play around with it, change the different things, see what you can make out of it. The second one is this one, and you just simply click on them. Let's say AG. AG, that is the atomic symbol, and that is the name, silver. So it tells you a quick fun fact. It tells you the phase that it is in, so the state of matter it is in nature, the atomic weight. This actually tells you how many protons and electrons there are. Okay, so that is that. One last thing. When you do your labs and your at-home journal, do not forget to write the paragraph of how to relate all this into your own words. Okay, so it'll be density. You can even talk about the periodic table. All right, and I think that's it. Once again, sorry for the long screencast. I just need to make sure everyone understands how to do this one. All right, I will talk to you guys throughout the week. Bye-bye.